Hey guys, sorry for the wait. They let me in a secure area, but that means I have to wait for people to pass by sometimes. Anyway, good afternoon. I think the trial is moving along quickly, both every day and for the whole trial itself, so that's good. I think it's going quicker than any one of us thought, which just means that we're not wasting time on stuff we shouldn't. So I'm very happy with the progress of the case as far as the calendar, the schedule goes. And we'll see how things go. We finish up tomorrow. It's strange to think it's only been 4 days of trial when I feel like I've been here for 3 weeks, but I guess we all have. And I think it's moving along. So I don't know if there are any questions, but I just want to let you know that I'm happy with where things are so far. So normally at this point somebody asks me a question, but I can go back to work too.
Any concern in your questioning with Glauer today? You may have opened the door to bring in Zimmerman's domestic violence issues.
No, I'm really not concerned at all. I mean, those are sort of evidence and trial issues. I don't want to just start, armchair quarterbacking the trial while it's still going on. But no, I'm very comfortable with the way the case is going out and not very concerned at all about any of George's history. I think you guys know as well the investigation that was done on George by the FBI and the results of it, so I'm not concerned.
So how do you view the state's case right now as it progresses forward?
They're in the middle of it. They've got a lot more to show. So, they build up, these things build up slow, and it's sort of like pieces of a puzzle, and people say, wait a minute, I can't see the picture yet. They're very good prosecutors. They're going to do a great job, and they're going to put on their evidence. We'll see how it goes. We are certainly ready to respond to it as it comes up. I think we've done that so far. So I'm pretty glad that we're moving the case along the way we are right now.
Who do you think won the battle between West and Gentile?
The only battle in this courtroom is justice and truth. So I think that we got out some truth today, and I think it's going to lead towards justice. So in that sense, I think things went very well.
What is your guess now on when the evidence at all will be in, when it gets to the jury?
I think we have, I think we were close now that we look at it. I think that it could go into a third week. I think we have, next week, we'll still have to move at this pace to get things done. And it could easily roll into a third week. So I think our initial estimate of 2 to 4 weeks is going to be relatively close. There could be things that get in the way of that. Other, slices of evidence that could be brought into the case that we don't know about yet. But I think we're moving along, and that's good. I don't think we're wasting. It may seem like we're going slow at times to the ones in the back of the courtroom looking, but in the overall schemes of a case of this magnitude, I think we're moving along pretty quickly, and I'm happy with the pace.
Do you think the witnesses, the eyewitnesses, have picked sides?
Have they picked sides?
Do you get a sense, or do you have a feeling that they picked sides?
I think everybody who looks at this case has an opinion about it. I think we found that in talking to the jurors. I think that we see some of that in the witnesses. Do I think that that means that they've taken sides and will thereby, impact on their testimony? I've not seen that particularly. I think that, you could look at any one of the witnesses today, Ms. Gentile, and look at her and say that, that they're maybe one side or the other. But my hope is that they get on the witness stand, they take that oath, and they mean it. So that's the premise that we go with, and I'm going to stay there.
Your clients seem to be pretty active today as far as conferring with yourself and Mr. West.
Sure.
And also reacting to some of the things that he heard. What is his mindset? What is he contributing? What's he doing as far as the overall?
Well, I think he's very glad that the trial is finally underway. The concern for the last 16 months was him living in hiding and just not getting to the point where he can show what he did and why he did it. So I think that he sees that some of that is coming out, and there's just a bit of a release of sorts when you finally get to a trial. Having said that, he is still very, very worried that he's on trial for his life, and that information that's coming out may be coming out with a certain perspective, as we said, with people maybe having taken sides and how that may show up in their testimony. And that's got to be very concerning to a man who's looking at life imprisonment.
As far as the impeachment process with Mrs. Gentile, it went back and forth quite a bit. Do you think it was effective enough, or was it lost on the jurors? How do you think the jurors responded to that process? I mean, it was long drawn out.
It's difficult to say except for this. I know the jurors are paying attention. I know they're taking a lot of notes. So as long as they're writing and not nodding, then they're listening and they're getting the points that are being made. These are not TV trials. This is a trial where sometimes it takes 30 questions to get somebody ready for the question that counts. And then you got to go back 15 questions and do it again. And I know it's very tedious for those of us who are not lawyers, but for those of us who are, I think that it has been moving along. I think it's a difficult process sometimes.
And you talked about writing. I mean, when they started playing those 911 calls with Mrs. Lauer, I mean, I saw your team looking, chatting, started writing. What is the issue there, or how did you view that when it was played with the jurors?
The 911 call from Ms. Lauer? Well, it is,
Very upset. I mean, is that, what do you think that,
I'm sorry?
that they were clearly very emotional from the jurors during those calls, during the screaming, so how do you?
Well, how could you not listen to that phone call and be emotionally attached to it? It is not only the screaming of somebody fighting for their life, but it also evidences the death of a 17-year-old. I mean, so yeah, it's a very, very emotion-packed piece of evidence to listen to. Unfortunately, it is critical for them to listen to it and to get a feel for it. But yeah, sure, it's going to be an emotion-packed event. We're still talking about a murder case where a 17-year-old's life was lost and another one's on the line. So, you know, we've got a lot to deal with and a lot to worry about within the emotions of the case. Having said that, I think that everyone is doing a pretty good job of keeping us on task and on track. So I'm very happy about that part of it. All right, great.
Mark, do you think Ms. Gentile will be back to testify again?
She's still under subpoena. We're making that decision now as far as some additional information that she has that may become relevant according to how the rest of the trial moves forward.
Mark, are you surprised how much social media is playing into this?
You know, April 11th, 2012, I had no idea. You know, I think I had a Twitter account and a Facebook page. It's been amazing from that day to this day. It is beyond amazing to me that we are looking at witnesses and looking at their social media presence to come up with information to question them about. That is brand new, in my opinion. I mean, you do it in getting ready for witnesses, I think, but this is real time. And this is, I think, a fairly new perspective for litigation to be dealt with in this format. And then we've had witnesses walk out of the courtroom and start tweeting and do Facebook. So it's been an amazing sort of umbrella over the whole case is this social media presence and what it means both from investigation to interaction to now having to react to it as lawyers, to look into it and see what's real and what's not. So yeah, it's been an amazing undertaking.
Will any of that social media activity from witnesses who left the courtroom crop up again during the defense's case?
Only if it becomes relevant,
Ms. Laura,
which we may.
Are you gonna be doing case law tonight for the
Oh,
decided?
yeah, no tennis games or golf games during the trial. I'll be getting ready and doing some case law for tomorrow. Absolutely. We have a lot to deal with, and there's some new issues that just came up today. So we have some work to do, which I'm going to get to unless there's any other questions.
Why would you recall Ms. Gentile? Is it to get into Trayvon's background?
Well, you know, there's an order was entered that we would have to proffer information in that regard before we were able to present it to a jury. And, you know, there was some beginnings of that today with Ms. Gentile's testimony. So that now may be a situation where we have to question her some more about that, because according, like I said from the beginning, if we stay to the 5 minutes or 7 minutes that this event took and just stay there, we're fine. If we start wandering off into what George did bad or what George did this or anything like that, then both of their reputations and both of their histories become much more relevant. I'm still hopeful we stay very tight into the trial of the 7 or 8 minutes of this event and leave it at that.
Mark?
Mr. Romero, with the way that the trial is going and the testimony is going, is there any change in the possibility that George Zimmerman might testify?
No, is a quick answer, and I say that because nothing has happened in the trial to date would have impacted on that decision. I've always said that's a very dynamic decision that we're only going to make when the time is right, and the time is only right to even consider that decision after the state has presented their case. It's the state's burden to disprove self-defense beyond a reasonable doubt. If I think they've gotten close to that, then I will consider putting on a case, first of all, and then a case that might include George's testimony. We're nowhere near any of that yet.
Mark, it appears that Jenna Lauer deleted her Twitter shortly after stepping off the stand. Does that affect the defense at all?
She had 0 tweets. I think she had an account for a year or two, whatever was up. She followed a few people, probably never looked on it. Imagine if you don't have even 1 tweet, you probably don't spend a lot of time on Twitter. And I think she probably just decided not to deal with it, because one thing that she did say today that has been completely consistent since the first day of her involvement is she does not want involvement in this. She stayed away from the media, she stayed away from everything, and I think even having a little side event of a Twitter account, she just said, I don't use it, I want it gone. I don't know that, but that would be my answer to that, so it would make sense. What's that? I cannot believe she wasn't following me. Well, see, following me doesn't matter because I don't... Okay, that's an argument for you guys. I can't take part in that. It's very frustrating. It's extraordinarily frustrating to not have his family by his side through his most significant event, besides the most traumatic event he went through, which was the event itself. So no, I'm very frustrated. I think it would have been very easy for the state to simply say, let the victim's family in, and for that matter, let Mr. Crump in, and let the defendant's family in. So saying it the right way, let the Martin family be there, let the Zimmerman family be there, and just deal with it as, as adults and as sensitive people dealing with a traumatic event, even though it's playing out in the courtroom.
Do you think, Mark, by the fact that the Martin family continues to be in the courtroom, and at times they have gotten up, they've gotten emotional, they've left, and jurors have noticed that's going to play a role, that's going to have an effect if they're there, and the Zimmerman family, for the most part, his parents are not?
I'm going to trust Judge Nelson. She's done a great job so far to maintain her courtroom the way it has to be. If it becomes a problem, I'm going to mention it to the judge, and she'll deal with it. I also trust the jurors, that we told them what they can consider and what they can't. We told them that though they're human beings and have common sense, that outward and affirmative sympathy does not have a place in a criminal courtroom. I'm not going to ask them to be non-emotional as human beings, but they cannot look at this case and say, we will hedge in favor of one side or the other based upon sympathy or bias. And I don't think they're going to do that. So I'm okay with the way it's going.
Who are you talking about at the end? It sounded like some witness who's gone out in the desert that maybe you, was that at the very end?
Oh, there was somebody on vacation. We still need to try and take their deposition or testimony. That's just the nuances and logistics of a trial.
Who is that?
Okay? I'm sorry.
Is Shelley Zimmerman subject to the witness sequestration rule?
Yes, she is, unfortunately. And I think that should be waived as well. I don't think that the legislature intended to diminish a citizen accused rights to have his family present when they sort of brought up the homicide victim's rights to have his members of his family present. It's just right now it's an inequity the way it's being dealt with. And quite honestly, I think the legislature should change that.
Is she on the state's witness list?
I believe that they put her on the witness list, yes. Okay, great. Thanks, guys. I'm going to back to work.